Hello everybody, welcome to a very exciting video about building racing simulators. It's not that exciting, but it's very informative. So if you want to learn or you're thinking about building a simulator yourself or upgrading your current rig, come along, go on a journey with me, and let's see what we got. So my name's Taylor Handwork, welcome to my video. A very good friend of mine once told me, Taylor, guys like us, we're not rich enough to do it wrong the first time. And he's right, but unfortunately, I don't listen to him very often. I do my best, but many times I fail. I'm an experiential learner, so I learn by making mistakes, and unfortunately, that usually costs money. So I'm going to share with you my experiences building a sim rig, what I did right, what I did wrong, and I think everyone can learn from anybody. So whether they're a novice or extremely experienced, you can always take something away. You can always learn. So what I did was I decided that I wanted to have a nice simulator. A while ago I had, a clamp-on, toy wheel and pedals, a decent computer and a single small monitor. And as I got more involved in racing in the real world, I wanted to have a better setup for me to hone my skills during the off season and to also use as a teaching tool for clients and things like that. So I do professional coaching, I do instructing, that kind of stuff. So I was willing to spend a little bit more on a simulator rig than I think your average person. But even if you don't want to spend a ton of money, I think there are still things here that you can learn. And if you do want to spend a lot of money, again, you still can learn some stuff from my experiences. So what I wanted to spend around $3,000. I was pretty close. I spent a little bit over, but right around $3,000. The system had to be able to handle triple screens or VR. I wanted a chassis that had an adjustable seat, and I also wanted a computer that was more than capable of handling it, and the pedal set, wheels and pedals, I really wanted a good quality one, but I wasn't going to go crazy and spend a couple $1,000s just on wheels and pedals. So let's talk about what I did right, and let's talk about what I did wrong. So we'll start with the wrong things. What I did wrong. I first screwed up on monitors. That was definitely my big mistake to begin with. The sim that I bought was capable of triple monitors. It came with a stand attached to the rig, and they suggested 24-inch monitors to go on. So, okay, I did some scooping around and found 24-inch Philips monitors, ordered them up, and they got here. And me not being totally savvy to start, and of course I learned as I went through this the expensive way, but fortunately I was able to return the stuff that I didn't use. So the monitors I got, they were 24-inch monitors, and they were rated at 60 hertz. That sounds to you like you may not know what that means. You're gonna want to do a little bit of Google searching and study up a little bit on the lingo, because the information that I'm going to share with you, you need to understand what these things mean for them to benefit you. So a 60 hertz monitor refreshes 60 times a second. Okay, that was kind of the standard for a long time. Now computer monitors are 144, 165, 200. The more and more hertz. So the more hertz, the more the refresh rate, and how that helps you is graphics cards. They produce frames, and how many frames per second. Well, the graphics card that I have in my computer, when I'm doing an iRacing race, it can go 120 frames. Well, my monitor could only do 60 refreshes per second. So basically what would happen is there was a disconnect between the graphics card and the monitor. And the monitor would have screen tearing, have all sorts of issues unless I capped the frame rate at 60. And then I'd turn on vertical sync also. And what that did was, in the game, introduced a latency in the controls. So I found that I was having a tough time controlling the car when I'd go over the limit. and when the car would slide, I would find myself a bit behind the car, and I was having a hard time catching slides, and it was actually very, very frustrating. I was actually kind of pissed off because I felt like I'd spent all this money, and here I was struggling. So I figured that the monitors were going to be a problem. So decided I'm going to have to get, higher spec monitor, and I also wanted a bigger monitor. The 24-inch monitors were a little underwhelming, so 27 inches in my mind was going to be kind of the sweet spot for what the sim could handle and what my budget could handle too. So I went and did some scouting around, and I found some really nice LG monitors on sale, and they were at Costco. So order them up, boom, they arrive. I go to install them, and lesson number 2. The I/O port, or basically where the plugs are on the back, the cables for the display port cables and the power cables, that interfered with the mounting bracket for the sim. And there was no way around it. Nothing could be modified. It was smack in the middle. Wasn't going to happen. So back in the boxes they went, and back to Costco. And third time ended up being the charm. I found a nice monitor from MSI. It was 165 hertz, 1080p, 27 inches, and it was HDR. And the plugs are on the bottom. So the I/O ports are all on the bottom, so no issues. So I learned already many things about monitors. Not just the quality of the picture, that kind of stuff that matters, but the location of the ports. All right, so got the monitors. They fit perfectly on the sim, despite the sim only being rated for 24-inch monitors. The 27s went on no problem. And that brought me to my next kind of issue with the sim. So I'll show you, some pictures, some video of the sim, but it's from GTR. And the way that it's originally designed is the monitors are pretty far away. The stand is all the way down, like by where the pedals would be. So almost like 4 feet away from your head. I found that it kind of lacked a level of immersion being that far away. So what I ended up doing was I moved the mount and brought it up to the where the steering wheel mounts. So I was actually able to bolt it. I had to drill some holes, but I drilled 4 holes, and I ran bolts through, and I bolted it right to the steering wheel mount. And that brought them, gosh, I don't know, 18, 20 inches closer to my face, and really increased the level of immersion. So that brings you to something that is called field of view. And Google it, look it up, do some YouTube stuff, but imagine yourself standing in a room. Let's say it's a 15-foot, wide room, and you're at one wall, and on the other wall across from you is a window. And you're looking through that window, and you see the outside world, but you see a very, very limited amount of the outside world. And as you walk closer to the window, the more you can see. So bringing the monitors closer to my head, I was able to increase my field of view. And by increasing my field of view, it was actually moving myself back in the car, basically. I could see more of the cockpit, more. Instead of a little window looking out the front, I was now nice and wide, able to see out the sides. I think that also helped me a lot with catching the car when I had to make a steering correction during a slide, because now I was sitting further back in the car, and the swing, the yaw side to side was more noticeable now. So being further back, I think, actually helped me with that. And I think also the monitors now, they work with the G-Sync, so there's no screen tearing or anything. Basically what G-Sync or FreeSync does, depending on what company, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD. And these are actually the MSI monitors. They were FreeSync, AMD FreeSync, and my card is NVIDIA, so that's G-Sync. It wasn't on the official list of compatibility, but it ended up being compatible, no problem. And it'll match the refresh rate on the monitor to the frame rate coming out of the card, out of the video card. So I think that was a huge bump in quality that made the driving better. And then, like I said, just moving the monitors closer, a little more immersion. I think that helped me a lot too. And then the field of view, just moving myself back in the car. It's something fun to play with. A lot of people, I think, I've noticed with like a single monitor, they have themselves sitting way back, a real big field of view, and they're missing out because they're looking through a tiny little window, basically trying to see the whole world. So field of view, iRacing has a nice little equation, I guess, inside of it, where you put in your information about your monitors, the angle of the monitors, the distance, that kind of stuff, and it comes up with something. I ended up actually going a little further back than what iRacing gave me, not a whole lot, but a little bit, and I found that really kind of hit the sweet spot for me. So that's where I ended up with the monitors and kind of the simulator chassis. The simulator chassis itself is from GTR, like I said. It's not a super high-end chassis, but it's not an El Cheapo, flexi flyer chassis either. I like that it has an adjustable seat, so if I've got somebody else here that wants to do some driving, I can do that. We can hop in, no problem, slide it forward, slide it backwards. The welds on it all look really good. The bends are good. The paint's really nice. I mean, I can't complain. It went together really easily. The directions were good, so I have no complaints about that. Only thing I did notice is the steering wheel mount. It's a little bit of flex to it. It just needs a little brace. It's something that can be done really easily, and it's not great for cable management. There's nothing there. You can't run the cables inside of it. So I ended up getting a lot of plastic sleeving for the cables and some clips with adhesive backing. Stuck them on there. If you take the time, you can make it look really professional, really nice. I think it came out really, really well. And the pedal set, that bolted right up. I didn't have to drill any new holes or anything. And then, but the steering wheel, if I wanted just 2 screws, I didn't have to drill anything. But if I wanted to add additional screws, I had to end up drilling some holes, which was no problem. If you go to the wheel and pedals, they're from Fanatec. If you go on their site, they have a template that you can print out, and it's the base of your steering wheel. And it has the holes there. You just tape it on to whatever you're going to attach it to, mark it, drill it, boom. So I was really happy with that. The computer itself, I ended up getting a pre-built computer. It was from Computer Upgrade Kings. I went through and I looked at the components that were in it, and the price that they had, I couldn't even do it, myself for that price. So I had, I was happy to have them do it. To be honest, I'm not super savvy with computers. I'm pretty sure I could put it together if I wanted to, but I wasn't really excited about taking that chance. So having a pre-built, I think, is pretty solid. I couldn't have done it cheaper myself. And now if I ever have any issues, I have their warranty, I have their support. So whatever fails, something fails, I can go to them. I don't have to go to MSI for my motherboard. I don't have to go to Gigabyte for my graphics. I don't have to deal with these multiple different manufacturers. I can just go straight to Computer Upgrade Kings, and they handle it. And so far, they've been fantastic to deal with. Any issues or questions or concerns, they answer right away on the phone. They've been really good. So if you're not really computer savvy and you're not sure kind of what specs you're looking for, what can run the game, if you give them a call, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk to you and walk you through it, tell you about what you need. The computer I have is definitely overkill for what I'm doing, but I wanted something that I really didn't have to think about. I wanted a fast, stout machine, and that's what I got. I'm going to put a link to everything in the description. So if you want to see, what exactly I did, you can take a look at all the items that I ended up with. The wheel and the pedals, like I said, they're from Fanatec. It's the CSL Elite, so kind of their entry level, but I did get a load cell for the brake pedal. Highly recommend that. Instead of the pedal, it's pressure sensitive instead of travel location sensitive. So it's also adjustable, and in a lot of the cars in iRacing, they have kind of tricky brakes, and I've found that being able to adjust the sensitivity of the brake pedal has been really helpful in certain cars. And I think if I had just a regular kind of basic spring-loaded brake pedal, the feel isn't there. It feels very, very fake, very toyish, and you just kind of lose some of that sensitivity, that feel that you get with the load cell. And the wheel itself, it's been great. It's nice off center. It's funny. I was watching some things with a little application is called Wheel Check, and it kind of detects, how much signal has to send to the wheel before it actually moves. And I was watching these videos, and some of these lower end wheels, it would send a lot of signal to the wheel before it actually moved. And when I did it with the Fanatec one, it did it immediately. There was no kind of dead zone. So I definitely would recommend, if you can, go that route, go a little bit pricier on the wheel, because it's the thing you touch, it's what you feel. And it makes a big difference. And the wheel itself, you can adjust it. If you're doing like a drifting game, it has different modes. The sensitivity, the actual amount that you rotate it. It's very nice. And I think for the price, entry level from them, I think it was actually a really good value. A couple additional items that I got that I think made a big impact. Headphones. I already had a really nice set of Sony headphones, so I didn't have to buy them. I've had them forever. So I think good headphones matters. If you don't want headphones, I guess a nice set of speakers, but I like the headphones, like the immersion. And then I got something that's called a butt kicker. It's the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, to be specific. And what it does is it takes the low frequencies, and it's like a subwoofer, but instead of moving air, it moves mass. So there's something inside of it, a piece of steel or whatever, that will vibrate. So you feel it in the pants of your seat. So when you start the engine, the seat starts rumbling. When you're hitting a gear shift and you hit the gear, it whack. You hit it. Rumble strips, you run over the rumble strips, you feel it. So I think that was another really good kind of level of immersion that I was looking for, that I knew was missing from an older setup from driving before without having that. And it went right under the seat of this rig. No problem, clamped right on. And it's been a big improvement, I think, over kind of the feel, especially for people who are coming, from real cars, who drive real cars, that are used to certain things. It's just another additional kind of little extra that makes it a little more believable. What else? Cables. I bought, not crazy expensive, but not super cheap. DisplayPort cables. I think they're all ended up being like 10 feet long, 6 or 10 feet long, just to make sure they made the runs. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and wireless cable, or wireless keyboard and mouse, because you're moving from your desk to the sim and back and forth. So having wireless is great. I know for gaming, everyone's into wired, no latency, stuff like that. But for this, when you just want the convenience, definitely want to just get wireless. So I think that's pretty much it. I think this is an interesting time that I'm making this video during the whole COVID-19 thing. Everyone's kind of locked away, and I think sim racing's getting hot, hotter, and I think there's a lot of people entering into it who never would have before. They do track days and things like that, and that's good enough, but now that they're kind of locked in their homes, they're looking for a little bit more. And I think this is a great opportunity, actually, for the two disciplines to overlap more. I think a lot of real world guys kind of dismiss it. I know there's a lot that embrace it and are all about it and use it, and they know it's a powerful tool, but I think there's a lot of people out there still who think that there's not much to it. It's just a fun little game, and there's no real benefit. But I'm hoping that this brings people the opportunity to try it and do more with it and see what it's like. And I think that there's going to be a nice overlap. So hopefully that's kind of the silver lining behind this whole thing. I hope everyone's doing well at home, staying safe, and stay home and do more sim racing, because the more sim racing you do, the sooner we get to go outside and drive the real thing, if that's what you like. All right, so here's the setup. So this is my single monitor. I have the amplifier for the butt kicker, surge protector, some stuff plugged in, my headphones, so that's all on the desk. And then next to the desk I have the computer with the actual sim triple monitors. So like I said, here is how I moved the monitor stand up. You can see back by the pedals towards the wall. That's where the monitors were before, and I brought them forwards, and I ended up bolting it directly to the steering wheel mount, and it made the immersion level go way up. Computers here, nice cable management, at least I think. Ran all the cables together in the plastic sheathing and then clipped them in behind, so they're pretty well hidden. You have to look behind it to actually see the cables. And then the butt kicker, so there's a little remote control for it mounted over there, so you can turn it on and off and adjust the volume or the you know, the strength of the vibration as you're driving. And then we have right here, we have the wheel and the pedals. I also use my wireless mouse. I end up putting it right here, so I have a nice little space for it. You can also get a combo wireless keyboard with a mouse pad on it if you don't want to have an actual separate mouse. And then down here below the seat, this is where the butt kicker hooks up. So that's mounted on there. Produces really nice vibration. It gives a whole other level of immersion. I really enjoy it. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Alright, take care. Thanks.